I mean, that it's the same thing like when you use the Google Voice keyboard, where it's just like, I assume Ben was shouting this at like the Google Home.
It's a delicate mixture of that. And welcome back to another Linux Gamecast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, Valve adds some epic terms to their distribution agreement. Hopefully, it's going to put a stop to the last-minute exclusives. And while classic, nerfs Linux players, but for all the right reasons.
SteamVR gets some Linux performance updates. Man, it must be nice for Valve to have all three backs of the Linux using index owners. And Lutris has a new version and a new icon. Both need more human teeth.
Blasphemous says it's still coming to Linux. Yet another Kickstarter game that delayed its Linux release, and deploying your own emulator cloud for fun and profit, right up until Nintendo catches wind of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm old man Vince Stone, joined every week by the man up north, where it's starting to get cold again. He'll finally be able to put on his Eskimo shoes and all that other fun stuff and slip and fall. It'll be brilliant. It's
Eskimo tassels.
And that lovely man down there with the weirdo. Why do you hang stuff on doorknobs? That's Pedro Mateus joining
because
us.
The camera was focusing on the doorknob.
Late
That's
in
why.
Britannia with you live. Shout Realm Dynamic helping us form Cocaine Voltron. Before we get started, we do like to see what's going on in each other's life organs. Gentlemen, has it been a fun week? Anything exciting? Anything new? Anything moderately sexy and or terrifying possibly covered in latex?
Like I was saying earlier, I got caught up on Preacher, and now I regret doing that because now it does those cliffhangers on this last season.
Dude, wouldn't you agree that me and Pedro, we're hooked? We're like, where's it out yet? We gotta watch it. And
yeah,
we know this is the last series, being the fourth. That writer room's like, F it, man.
Oh yeah, no, it's ramping up. It got really good real quick. Like, damn.
Yep. I'm down with that. Anything new with you, Pedro?
well, the El Cheapo Project PC has a case, it has a power supply, and the motherboard and the processor and everything else is in it, except for the GPU.
All right, did you pull the trigger on the AliExpress YOLO?
No, I won the 75-pound bid on an Asus Strix RX 570. So it supposedly comes on Monday or Tuesday, so I'll be waiting for that.
I was looking forward to like getting like a new hamster or something. Like, oh well. I was reading the thing that you posted in Discord, and it was like 100 tested. Like what?
Yeah.
Question mark % smiley face. I don't know, man. It was kind of brilliant. Over here, dude, I got this thing.
Ooh.
It's probably not a sex toy. But then again, I'm not brave enough, so I'll never find out.
It comes from Japan, so it's probably a sex toy.
Yeah, legit, dude. There's not outside. Someone pointed it out. And it's like, well, it says Elecom right here, and it says huge. It's huge in Japan. Much like
huge.
It's big, man. First time I ever bought a trackball, and I'm learning how to use this monstrous little thing, but it hopefully will help out with editing. And it's legitimately, if I had one gripe, my hand fits on it, which is weird. I'm not accustomed to that. I'm accustomed to having to do that to use a mouse. The thumb button's kind of weird, but then again, scroll wheels on the side and all that. But I'm happy with it. It's not too bad. So that's what's up with me. I do want to mention before we get into it, this week we're giving away a copy of Speedrunners, which we played last night, which was fun. Jordan even brought out his speed chalk live.
That's not a euphemism for cocaine. Nope. It's actual chalk.
Actual chalk. Suck it. So if you want to fish out the 3 parts of the key that will be in here, there's your first one. It's going to be in post if you're watching live. Wah, wah, but thanks. We love you anyway. Much like the horse.
The horse doesn't love anyone or anything. It's completely incapable of emotions other than hate. It's the Steamless update of the week. It's also going through a bit of a court scenario because there seems to be a lot of discovery happening. Yeah. Well, there's a brand new update for that. Valve pushed out a minor search algorithm update to about 5% of their users over the past few months. and apparently it was deemed successful enough to get released to Gen Pop. And so in the coming weeks, you're going to start seeing a few more obscure games in your recommendations. This is their automated
obscure or shit that I might actually want to play.
Little column A, little column B.
Fair enough.
That's kind of like the big gripe that indie devs are having with Steam, is that their niche titles are being hidden away from the people who would ostensibly want to play them. So this is supposed to help identify similar games to things that you already play and recommend them to you. And hopefully this will stop the leaking of exclusivity. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Has anyone gone hit with this? Anyone seeing some new additions to the Steam store that you're what'd you get?
Fucking all, man, because Valve, you've taught me not to rely on your services. If I find out about a game, it's the last place it's ever been would Steam.
It's usually Twitter, yeah.
However, I do look forward to seeing how this will end up getting abused, because it will end up getting abused, Pedro.
It's on Steam, and it's something that they've implemented not to do it manually, so yeah, it will get abused. But games, the big shift here is like, yeah, it used to be that really popular games were getting recommended to people, and that was making those less popular ones, but still pretty good games, were being buried. But, okay, what about the developers and the publishers of those really popular games? Because I don't think they're going to be too happy. It's like, oh yeah, we're doing pretty good because our game kept showing up and people kept buying it, and now it doesn't.
Well, they've done a bunch of different things. A couple of weeks back, we talked about the change. It was like, you can't every 2 weeks change the release date of your game to get that page bump.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man.
It's like any machine learning solution. You gotta wait and see if it'll actually do what it says it does.
I don't know if Steam's machine learning counts to potato or eats to potato, but it's one or the other.
I think it's just the horse.
Dude, check this out. Valve has added a new stipulation to the distribution agreement that could, actually, I think it will affect the exclusives going to other stores. And by that, you know the part we're talking about, right? And we are talking about, it basically says, hey man, if you're going to submit, can I even zoom in on this? Let's try. Come on, Mad Hacks.
Enhance.
Okay, within 30 days of the effective date, thereafter, companies shall submit to Steam any localized versions application, but in no event later than they are provided to any other third-party commercial release. Companies shall provide these copies in object code form in whatever format Valve reasonably requests, usually weasels, but what this says, at the end of the day, this boils down to, you can't use Steam to plug your shit anymore. You can't do the free ads and like, oh wait, it's 2 weeks to release Epic exclusive. And I know Sweeney's like, but man, I was sorting by new release, and that's how we were picking, right? And making it rain. The only thing I could see Epic doing now, this would require all the infinite popcorn. What if they're like, yeah, do it anyway. We'll pay the legal fees. I'm going to test this out.
I kind of want to see Sweeney pull that. Like, yeah, let's see if Valve's willing to put their money where their mouth is. Because those sorts of suits, like, drag.
It'd be Epic like going against Valve in court. But yeah, it's right now it's just a matter of seeing which game developer / publisher is going to run afoul of this particular clause in the distribution agreement. So
I'm curious how harshly Valve will go after them just to like try and make an example of the first person to try and pull something like this.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody really wants to test that. What I want to know is that this couldn't be retroactive. I think it's fair game for anybody that.
True, but I think this will be enough, right?
Yeah, this will at least dissuade a lot of them,
right?
So
and I think at least in this case, they're gonna like if you have a Valve developer account, they're gonna force this on you like the next time you log in, so you have to agree to it if you want to like continue to use the Steam platform.
All right.
So it won't be retroactive, but it will be applied to existing stuff on the store by virtue of people using the service.
I think it's pretty much guarantee this is not the last we've heard of this.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
I got some
Oh,
popcorn
no.
in the microwave ready to go.
Everspace.
Yes. So, speaking of Steam trying to do things to get away from Epic, well, the Everspace devs did get an offer from the Sweeney to go exclusive on the Epic Store, but they decided to turn it down. And their reasoning was basically, yeah, people would be pissed at us if we did that. And we had a pretty good run with our first game, Everspace, which was, for them anyway, it had Valve or Steam as a platform, gave them everything that they needed to get the game out there and get it into the hands of people. And they were big fans of the early access model because that's where they got a lot of the money from the first Everspace sales. So, yeah.
It turns out, Pedro, that if you provide a lot of tools to interface with a community and solicit feedback and test things, that developers might, be receptive to that, as opposed to the Sweeney approach, which is basically just, here's a lot of cash, do with it what you will.
Yeah, and you kind of lose out, the whole Epic thing is you get guaranteed money, and by not taking it, you kind of lose out on that. But at the same time, Epic is only offering that particular exclusivity deal to those games that they feel will already make that kind of money on their own. So this way, you get to keep, the goodwill of the people who bought the previous one, and you get to keep using Valve's rather significant infrastructure.
That's definitely a thing. Do you think there's anything to be said for? Because we had a developer a couple of weeks back that turned down. They're like, I don't want to go exclusive on Epic.
Dark, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, hey, but we'd like to be on the store. And they're like, no.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
But
it really does show what the priorities of the Epic Store really are. They're trying to establish as much lock-in as possible.
Yeah, they're basically muscling in. Instead of competing, they're trying to muscle Valve out of the monopoly.
We've been over that a billion times. Do you think it's safe to say that exclusivity in a game is really not necessary unless your game's shit? Because if your game's good, it's gonna sell.
Possibly. I would say that exclusivity makes more sense in like a console model, right? Because then it's tied to an actual bit of hardware. In terms of like PC gaming, you don't even need to have the operating system that it was intended to run on in order to run games. So
yeah. But that's the thing. It's exclusives as they currently stand serve no purpose other than for Epic to try and become the de facto monopoly. They want to absolutely crush Steam. So
crush.
SteamVR's thing.
It is. And some people, well, 3 people actually use it. Oh god, that Mr. Meeseek's body horror thing, man. That's
what that is? I thought that was just nightmares.
I have no idea, but that's some disturbing Lovecraftian nonsense. Anyway, SteamVR 1.7, they have a new update, 1.7.15. And because all of this is not particularly relevant to us, we do the old Control F Linux, and lo and behold, improved Linux performance under the Linux section. There's a lot of like reducing CPU usage, fixing system hangs. I'm curious though, how much of this is actually targeted directly at SteamVR via Proton as opposed to SteamVR native? Because there's not really any games under Linux that are used, aside from like Serious Sam and Dota, that have like a native Linux VR.
Well, no, that's 100%, man. I think that's also, if they're going to keep rolling out with Vive, that's the support we're seeing. We're seeing fixes for Proton to work with SteamVR. And hey, man, all 6 of those people, ecstatic.
Yeah. There was one interesting thing I saw for the Oculus support where there's some weird path issue where like, if you're using the latest version of like the Oculus driver, you need to change the path and then change it back after the application is launched. So they have some interesting fixes for that.
But you're ready for that. I mean, if you're doing VR through Steam on Linux, man,
with an Oculus,
that's a cakewalk. You're like, I got this. You know what you're in for. You know what you're in for. But on the Proton front, man.
Yeah, there's a brand new version, Proton 4.11.4. Very, very minor. It has a new version of DXVK. It's got a new version of D9VK, new version of F Audio. Apparently, if you're like Pedro and you insist on not attaching a cable to your Bluetooth, or not your Bluetooth, your PlayStation 4 controller, yeah, you will be able to actually use this while playing games. And Farming Simulator fans rejoice! You can now play Farming Simulator 2019 under Proton. Woo!
Man, I've been holding out, man. I've been running Windows all this time, but you know, I love it. Please, Flying Spaghetti Monster, let that. I'm going to search that after the show. I'm just like, yeah, but I'm waiting on Farming Simulator 2019 when that drops on Linux. Boom,
boom.
It just came out though, didn't it?
And I don't know.
And the wait was worthwhile.
Excellent work. I'm glad they're really staying up to date, because, you know, up until very recently, you know, especially DXVK was dragging behind a few releases, and
I think there may have been a little bit of QC there.
Yeah, definitely good to see, and still no goddamn Batman. So,
all right, and finally, Don't Starve. We got some game updates we got to talk about. Don't Starve. They've updated Woody, the lumberjack character. I played him the time that Foxy, Jill, and I were playing Don't Starve, and Foxy was playing him last time. Basically, he's a guy who wears a lot of plaid and hungers for wood, and then turns into a furry monster if he doesn't get fed. But now they've changed it. Now he's no longer a beaver who hungers for wood. He can turn into a weremoose now if you eat monster lasagna.
That is the most Canadian thing, man. A were.
I know. Like, I just feel the poutine inside me right now, and it feels good. But yeah, they have 2 new transformations for the lumberjack.
I'm on Team Tree.
Yeah. They got Sailor Moon accessories for streaming drops, and yeah, just a couple bug fixes in regards to this character update. So I mean, we might try it out on Thursday just to see how lumbersexuals really fare in the world of Don't Starve.
Dude, every time I've tried to play that game, here's my experience playing the game. Oh, look, I'm Ghost now. All right, where you guys at? I'll just follow you around and be non-corporeal and shit.
Foxy and I were doing okay the last run. I think we're slowly getting better.
In here working with something, and I was like, wait, you guys are still playing? All right, and then just join this, and boom, go back and watch that VOD instantly.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hey, Ven joined. Hey, Ven died.
Yep. Too real, man. Too real. Okay.
It's coming, though.
Something that unfortunately isn't real, and they totally promised is on their Kickstarter, is Blasphemous on Linux. And if you're like me and you saw like the first trailer that they presented for Blasphemous, and you've been going, oh yeah, I want to play that, well, you're going to have to wait. They do say that the Linux and Mac versions will be coming really soon. But if you are using Steam on Mac, you can already request the build. So I'm guessing you don't even have it on Steam yet. You just request the build and they send it to you. But yeah, on Linux, we're going to have to wait for whatever really soon means. But again, it's another Kickstarter game that promised Linux, and then release came around. It's like, we'll get to that. This is the kind of shit that keeps driving people away from kickstarting games, developers.
Oh, sweetheart.
Yeah.
That ship sailed. I think everyone is fully aware now that you're placing a bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like real estate speculation.
Yeah, and this one I really want to play it because the art looks amazing, and it looks like Castlevania with the grid turned up to 1,000. So
and more nipple clamps.
I think I could be down with it. I mean, if they've already got like something working on Mac, what is this thing running? Unity, probably.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is what is this actually built on? We don't know. Maybe someone with a Mac. Download the Mac version and tell us. Look in the game data.
Justin Mir, one of you two have a look at that, please?
Yeah, Justin, you have like literally 80,000 Macs. Check it out.
Go. Hey, a hot new application sweeping the nation, Krita. It's a great game. It's kind of fun if you're into Digital Painting Simulator 2019 edition. But I wanted to give this a mention because I'm like, what the holy what? It is, you know, a really, really decent free open source paint tool that is so far beyond me. I'm like, look at the pretty shit you can make with this. I'm not smart enough. But
yeah, you need a tablet.
Yeah, kind of like that. It's fancy. It's $9.99. Now, again, you can go download this and, you know, it's single player, no multiplayer, unfortunately. But that's just supporting them. Like, hey, if you want to support this, you can get this. And we've said for a long time, it'd be great for, let's see what the requirements are. Nothing. As much system video memory as possible for large. All right, everything's cool.
I got you, fam. I got 10 gigs.
All right.
Yeah.
But for software, I mean, Steam's a really good way to keep things up to date.
Indeed, yeah. Sometimes you forget that you can actually buy software off Steam that's not games.
On Linux, I mean, what do we have? We have like 3 apps or something like that.
I really do wish for open source stuff, though, that Steam would offer like a pay what you want option.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I would like to see is like if you have an established open source project that you don't have to pay the $100.
Yeah. You just get on because
right. Yeah. That'd go a long way.
But you know, $9.99 or £6.99 over here. It's a very nice price. It is, especially for something as, you know, fully featured as Krita. And I can see how that might, some bullshit artists might look at that price, it's probably crap, and they won't even try it. But for something this good,
it's cheaper than Photoshop.
Nice.
Here's the thing.
If you don't feel like going to the Pirate Bay, it's cheaper than Photoshop.
Here's the thing. $9.99 is worth it if you use it just for the ease of updates.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Done. Or you can wait for packaged on whatever distribution, or you can build it yourself. Yeah. $10.
Or you could fuck with your boss at work. Like, why do you need Steam installed on this work computer? Reasons. Oh, I use it to update Krita. Yeah,
that's
no,
right.
I'm not.
Krita.
I'm not playing FTL at work. No, not at all.
Okay, we do have an actual new game, and it looks pretty decent.
It does. It is still in early access, though. That's like the one thing I can point at it and say, But it is Age of Grit, and they describe it as explore a Wild West-inspired world in a steampunk airship. Like, so it is basically like FTL style of combat, but instead of spaceships, they're just airships in the Wild West.
Jordan,
and the rest of the game,
where's the giant spider?
Yeah, I'm guessing that's going to be one of the bosses.
There probably is a giant spider in here. They would be remiss if they're going to make a steampunk Wild West game and not include a giant spider.
But that spider better be busy fighting Superman
or a polar bear. They're the deadliest predators in the animal kingdom. You know that.
But yeah, it is very much a CRPG like the rest outside of combat. It is very much in the style of Might and Magic. So, yeah, if this is your bag and you don't mind paying the early access price, you should give it a look because it does look very interesting. I'll wait until it's done.
It does look very good, but $20 for early access is still a little, still a little steep.
Well, compared to that ship game, that's like $30.
Right, yeah. Right. That's the biggest scoff. Although, like, if this is your jam, probably paying $20 for this is not that big a deal.
Well, yeah, I mean, think of how much time you've lost to FTL type games. Like,
exactly. Like, I'd probably end up getting my money's worth. I still got to make some more progress in Deep Sky Derelicts, though. Stay tuned next Thursday. We might be doing more of that. All right, coming up next, we lost Pennywise to it, but then it kicked him out.
Now it's back
on Linux.
From the dead, bitches.
Well, we are about to give birth to a whole segment worth of news, but before we get to that, we do need to get into a little bit of a C-section with shilling ourselves. That was bad.
That was, man.
That was terrible. Go 80% chance of vaginal rupture. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/LinuxGameCast. It's the best way to support us because you can get cool stuff in return for your money, like access to our Discord channel or show notes, or you can see our VODs a few days early, or if we're playing games like on
people.
Yeah, if we're playing games on mostly Friday and Thursday, you can maybe come along and play some games with us. It's fun. Pedro doesn't like to play with other people though. You also get access to an extra hour a week of content, the pre super shows, where we bullshit and talk about hands.
We do that just for you, man. We are completely community funded, so come join that community if you want. If you're like, you're stupid, help out somebody else. It's brilliant. We do appreciate it. And you get access to that. You get the live audio stream when we go live. If you just want to listen, we make that available. And the other 6 days of the week, we're in Discord. That's a weird place. It's a very friendly place, strangely enough, but it's still...
It's a little bizarre.
It is.
But yeah, if you don't want to give us some recurring support, but maybe you want to buy us a bit of hardware to help us improve this mess.
How about the t-shirt hardware?
Yeah, the t-shirt hardware.
Yes.
Well, there's an Amazon wish list, right? but there's also the store. Yeah, if you want to clothe yourself, cover your disgust, close yourself off, yourself off from the rest of the world, because you're not going to be able to wear these shirts in public without getting some weird looks. But you can buy them if you want. They're available.
Dude, we got stickers too. You can cover yourself in clothes stickers.
You can close yourself off with stickers.
Yeah, put them over your nipples.
Hey, I'm working on a new shirt. If you were in Discord earlier, you might have saw that. I'm definitely making something like, I want something I want to wear out in public. So that'll be out next week.
That functional LGC apparel. But yeah, we got an Amazon wish list. This entire endeavor takes quite a bit of hardware and software to accomplish, and it can get a little expensive. So if you want to help us out, you can check out our wish list. That's available at linuxgamecast.com. Just go to the support drop down. We have wish zones for everybody. Oh, you should buy Ven a tablet or a fan to. I guess that fan is to clip on the mic stand that holds his camera.
Another fan. He needs another one.
It blows, man. It 100% does. Hey, we do want to thank every single person back here on Frank's Wall of Fine Upstanding Cannibals, because they have helped us. They're like the game genie for this shit. We'd be way behind in our capabilities if it weren't for you. So that's awesome. That is. And Frank appreciates it. He even flies by in the credits, which your name will be in. I know. We're going to tell people. For shame.
Oh, yeah.
Shame. Shame.
So
ding,
how
ding.
about them news? Ven, did you ever play WoW?
Fuck no, I didn't. Ever. Came close. Okay.
You ever DDoS someone?
Oh, hell yeah. I was a boy once too, Jordan. I know it might be...
I can install low orbit ion cannon. That's a thing.
Oh, no. Windows used to have a flaw. You could do it over the local network and just nuke people, man. Check this out. So, when it comes to WoW, just that quick story. When did it go, like, they had free trials where you could play for like a week or a month or something like that. It's like, okay, I'll try it. I downloaded it and I could get it to work with wine. And, my patience with wine is it didn't work out of the... Fuck it. And, well... Anyway, Reddit, Linux WoW Classic players were getting targeted by Blizzard because there was that DDoS attack, and they're like, yo, this is coming from a bunch of Linux boxes, not people playing the game, but hey, Linux is going to serve, son, and, well, it was doing its job, just not in the right way. So, they scanned out, what was it, the TTL headers?
Yeah, packet TTL headers. They were trying to flush out anything that would come from a Linux box, just drop it. This was the countermeasure that they took, but it was only for IPv4. So this entire thread was going on. People were trying to figure out workarounds, and effectively what happens is Honey Linux don't give a fuck and gives you full access to the network stack. So you can just change the packet TTLs to be whatever you want. If you change the Windows value, all of a sudden, their DDoS shield thinks, oh, this is coming from a legitimate client. Also, switching to IPv6 seems to have fixed it as well, though that's not usually an option for everyone, because that's kind of dependent on whether or not your ISP will actually give you an IPv6 lease. But this was the workaround established, and yeah, I mean, from a very simple operational perspective, this change kind of makes sense. If you're getting attacked by a bunch of Linux boxes and there's no real way to fingerprint which ones are legitimate and which ones aren't, identifying something like a common packet TTL is a useful way of dropping all the bad packets so that your service doesn't completely degrade.
100%. I had a bit of sympathy because I know Pennywise in Shadowrun was very excited about this. He's like, I'm going to lose all. This is going to be his thing. And then we just go like, motherfucker. It's like, oh, I feel bad for you. But 100%, I would have done the exact same thing. This was damage control, man. This is like, hey, stem the bleeding, and we'll do the triage in a minute. So I just saw a lot of people on the interwebs going, oh, this is another attack against Linux from Blizzard. I'm like, man, go fuck yourself. All right, I hate Blizzard as much as they're just shifty and shady as they can be, but not on this one. Don't hang your head on this one. However,
I mean,
Pedro was all like,
I was all like, this is the third time that Blizzard have done or have served Linux users with a very nice and long shaft for them to shove up their own asses because they can't or won't do their job properly. And yeah, eventually they did get around to saying, oh yeah, we're aware that this is affecting legitimate Linux users who are trying to play the game honestly. So we'll see if we can work around that. But yeah, this is exactly the reason that I still haven't bought Diablo 3.
Yeah. Well, incidentally, what I was going to say is in the thread, they were saying that Diablo 3 was unaffected and people could still connect to Diablo 3 and StarCraft through Wine. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely make the argument, and there is some legitimate support for it, that this was a very heavy-handed approach. But again, when you're dealing with the DDoS, right, it's distributed. You're trying to identify the least common denominator and be able to continue serving stuff.
How do you guys feel? Like, if I'm playing something with Wine, if I bought something with the intent to play it with Wine, and it breaks, I'm like, yeah, all right.
Well, especially if there's like a server component, like an always online DRM, like an MMO or like something like Diablo or StarCraft. That's kind of the risk you're taking. That's
kind of what I was trying to say. I mean, I feel like it's a gamble.
Caveat emptor, right?
Is. Like, and you are trying to do something that is not officially supported, and you need to keep that in mind.
Hey man, Mumble. People use that to talk to each other.
Still, people still use that.
Well, some people have some issues with Discord, and they might be legitimate, they might not be. But Mumble has a new version. It's 1.3.0. It's been a long time in development, but you get fun features such as
Archer?
Right. It's been a long road. No, a couple of the highlights from this release: individual user volume adjustment is added. So if someone in the Mumble channel you're in is being extra loud, then you can just turn them down. Hopefully, it works a little bit better than Discord's, because that one's not great. There's also an improved banhammer.
Does anything? Have you ever used an application that had AGC that worked?
Anyways,
all right.
Yeah. No, there's also some improved moderation tools with the banhammer, and they also have an option now. You can toggle it, so you have to go in. No longer do you have to go into a menu to disable push to talk. You can enable a menu option that will make a toolbar icon to toggle push to talk, which I guess is a nice feature, but I think that kind of should be a primary one.
It's kind of like progress. That's one thing I've never enjoyed about Mumble. And it's like, no, hold down the button or sign a key. I don't have time for that, man. If I want to talk, I'll talk.
Yeah,
I get why it's there, but
yeah. And app images. They're shipping the app as an app image, which is handy if you don't want to compile things or go through your software, your distribution software repository.
I'm down with that. App images, they work. You can love them or hate them, and you don't have to install anything else. It's just, boop, there it is. Done.
Indeed. Lutris is a new release, too.
Man, all right. Yeah. You hear me? You sentient baguette dropped this release like halfway through last week's show. It's like, all right. Man, not 5.3. Tell me about it.
Indeed. My upcoming roommate has a new release.
Who will be sleeping on? All right. Hang on.
All right.
This was a great chat. I just happened to catch it in Discord. Matthew Command, the creator of Lutris. He's going to OneCon, and Matthew was like, should I get a motel? Or then Jordan's like, wait, do you want an air mattress? How did that roll down? He was like,
yeah, well, no, because like I was thinking about it. I looked at the calendar and I'm like, oh shit, Matthew's gonna be here in a month, and if I need to buy stuff for him, I need to like put that on my to-do list now, or else I'm just gonna fucking forget. So I'm like, I'm like, straight up, do you have a hotel booked, or do I need to buy an air mattress?
Dude's like, air mattress?
Right. Yep. So I'm gonna go order one on Amazon. Let's see if I remember to use our affiliate link, which, by the way, you can use if you want to buy stuff off Amazon.
Those things.
Plugs aren't over yet. You thought you were out.
You think you're done now? Boom. There's another key.
Yeah.
So check this out. Do you think you could order? How small of an air mattress do they sell?
I'm gonna get a doggy bed for him.
Dude, don't just get like a swimming pool float and tell him it's a mattress.
I'm gonna get him like a mirror style anime body pillow, and that's just gonna be it.
Get the pool float with a cup holder. He'll love it.
Indeed. All right, yeah. I mean, we could just keep rocking and rolling with Lutris, not 5.3. There's a D9VK option that you can enable globally. You don't have to do this on a per runner basis. There's some wine large address aware stuff if you're running a 64-bit OS, which you probably are in 2019. I know you 32-bit holdouts are still out there. Just fucking upgrade already. What the hell? If you're using AMD GPU Pro, they've added that to the Vulkan loader search, so you can actually use the proprietary AMD drivers. I don't know why you'd want to. Maybe if you need that 5700 XT working right this instant. There's a brand new logo, but it's not the logo that it should have. It needs the empty logo with the otter and the human teeth smoking a joint.
Nay, I like my master chef that I made all those times back.
Oh, yeah, it needs more sunglasses and Strider holding guns.
100%. One thing is, we were just talking about app images, is they are getting the bits and bobs ready to ship a Flatpak version of Lutris.
Indeed, which will be very handy.
Strider was a big fan of the snaps.
No, what do you think that?
I mean, the reality is,
I like your strategy. It's like, I just made it up, man. Come on.
The reality is, this is a Python program, so you really just got to clone it and run bin Lutris.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but that's available for your consumption.
Okay.
Maybe eventually it'll have the workaround so you can play WoW through it. Ooh, tie it back.
It is
That
one
would make
thing
a
where
lot
you
of
can
people
play the
happy.
goddamn Batman.
This is true.
Yeah. All right.
Le Batman.
Okay, so RPCS3, they finally got around to publishing their July update, and with this one, they have a lot of fixes. They fixed their MSAA implementation to allow certain games to actually run properly, and they've even gotten CSAA working properly, which is needed for games like Gran Turismo 6 and Gran Turismo Academy. And GTA 5. Yes.
Herbie
GTA
the acid
5
trip
on the
Rainbow
PS3.
cars.
You can get a paint job that does that in real life,
You have to pay a lot
Yeah,
for that.
for a lesson. But yeah, they also fixed something that they had introduced, one of the features that they had introduced in some of the past releases. They also fixed that so that games like Dragon Ball now actually work properly, and there's no weird clipping issues of stuff that shouldn't be there showing up. So that's all working properly. It also affects.
Go on.
It also affects other games. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the other thing. We talked about this on their last progress report. They're investigating some methods for ensuring that you can play PS3 games outside their standard resolution and frame rate, because you have a modern computer that can run games at hundreds of hertz and hundreds of frames a second, but the PlayStation 3 was not designed for that. So they've made a little bit of progress. You can now adjust the V-blank, which should help some games run at higher frame rates than 30 FPS. And also, there are some that actually tie frame rate to the actual real-time clock, so you can change what a second actually means to the emulator so that you can run the game faster. This allows, like what Pedro was salivating over, Dark Soul or Demon Souls at UHD at 60 FPS.
Yeah, it's like Demon Souls.
You gotta wipe
Even
off your
running
microphone
that
there.
at 720p, it could barely hold 30 because that game was just poorly optimized from the get-go. But I saw the video, and the dude was playing it like 3840, 2160 at 60 FPS. It's like, I wanna.
All right, so now you gotta wipe off the microphone and your desk.
Hot. Dude, it just keeps chugging along, man. I'm glad they didn't decide to do the beautiful minds behind this weren't working on a Nintendo project, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
they would have been sued so much.
Smoldering crater.
And the only reason that Sony isn't suing them is because they tried to sue one other emulator in the past and they lost.
Yeah,
so now they're
if it's a
afraid.
complete clean room implementation, then they can't do jack shit about
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Well, they can threaten to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Litigate, don't innovate.
That's right. Hey, cloud gaming. We don't need Stadia. We'll make our own with blackjack and clouds.
And emulators, yes,
mad clouds, bro.
because this is what this is. This is Cloud Retro, and it's a cloud service that you can deploy yourself, and it'll let you set up your own cloud for emulators, like your DS emulators and your. They show a lot of Nintendo screenshots on that GitHub page, and I'm just thinking, oh god, when is Nintendo going to drop the lawyer hammer on this one?
Well, that's when you got to start paying attention when they're in legal trouble. That means that they have a viable product.
Yeah, it's like clone to get now, clone it, do it.
That means if it's 1.0 release, Nintendo decides that.
Yeah, it's funny too because like the Valve almost takes the opposite approach. It's like, oh, hey, you figured out this thing to use our system? Yeah, we're gonna bring you guys in. Nintendo's just like, no, you're not allowed. Our shit needs to be pristine. You stay away from it.
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, game development company, how very them of them, man.
Indeed. But yeah,
it's Cloud Retro. It works off of libretro, obviously. So anything that libretro supports, you can deploy. It'll be like a teeny tiny little server that you run, and then you can access it through a browser and play it.
Do they mention anything about bandwidth requirements, or is this a house cloud?
it's
I think
it's
right now it is going to be for a house cloud, but you could try and deploy this. You know,
I mean, for like Nintendo, for like NES games or Game Boy games, I think if it's not something that's super twitchy, you should be fine.
Maybe try it in the backyard first.
Indeed.
yeah, it's like give it to your neighborhood. It's like connect to this.
One thing that is interesting they listed out as a feature is they have like a Twitch Plays Pokemon mode, so you can actually have multiple people control the same game, which is pretty fucky.
That sounds like a brilliant idea. Let's never do that.
NVIDIA tried to do that, but it never came to Linux.
Twitch Plays Doom 2016. That's the thing. Coming up next, Slipstream was my favorite version of FTL from, Star Trek, as opposed to Warp Drive or Trans Warp. It's also a Java game where you drive cars, throwing chairs at it. Man, I got them pants. Skirt. Welcome to the CHAIRQASITION, where we throw chairs at games, and we see if they work on Fedora, Solus, and Debian, and then we ask, is it fun? I don't know. We'll find out. This week, we're taking a look at Slipstream. It's developed by Ansdor on libgdx, which is basically just running Java in an app image. You can pick it up for about $10 US. What is it? Arcade-style racing game inspired... Arcade! Inspired by the spirit of the early 90s. Yeah, it's advanced technology that we have. It's advanced Java technology. With drifting mechanics and exotic tracks. The devs did send us some keys for this a long time ago, so we got to thank them for that. So let's get started. How'd this thing run on Debian?
Man, you mean the better Linux operating system? Check this out. Over here on Debian 10.1, that point release did rock and roll on the Threadripper 1920X, 32 gigajoules RAM, NVMe drive, all that hotness with a 2060 display at UHD. It always launches in the left monitor. The one I have in portrait mode for the show notes, so that got old quick. I have to unbiggen it, drag it to the center display, then re-embiggen it every single time the game launches, if I want to play in full screen. Now, if I want to play windowed, but what's the point of having a 43-inch monitor if you're not going to play pixel games in full screen at UHD, right? Performance-wise, 60 at 2160, 60 at everything else. It runs well. It should. Graphics, look at it. It's hipster pixel, man. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. However, there are options for like CRT effects or pixel effects. Don't you dare touch those. I mean, go ahead and touch them. Just make sure you have like anti-nausea drugs laying around. Controls, I tried it with the Xclone controller. It worked out of the box. However, Unfortunately for the QA, I can't give it a solid, clean bill of green, wet, stinky health because that left monitor thing needs fixing, but I'll give it a solid 3.
Yeah, on Fedora 20, it's 30 now. Fedora 30 64-bit with the i7-6700K with the Spectre mitigations turned on, and the GTX 1080 Ti. Yeah, it launches. Definitely does. It definitely likes that leftmost monitor, though. I fucked around with setting display variables for like maybe 20 minutes yesterday, trying to figure out if I could get it to spawn on the correct monitor. It will not. So that's half a chair off, and then you got to enable virtual controller. Pedro will talk about that a little bit more in his Mix with the Working segment, but that's full chair off Mix with the Working. It doesn't work entirely out of the box. Performance at 1080p. Yeah, it runs. Look at it. Graphics, there are some really smooth animations that don't juxtapose well with the pixel art, and it's a little jarring, but otherwise it's fine. And yeah, Pedro, like I said, Pedro will talk about the DualShock 4 issues, but after you enable that, it works. So 3 chairs. I know how to count.
Over here I have, if there's one thing I learned from Linux all these years, is that the leftmost monitor is always the primary monitor, no matter what you tell X. So that's what I do, and I have the UHD monitor on the left. So it launches just fine in Solus with the GTX 1080 and the AMD Ryzen 7 3700X. The performance, yeah, it's locked at 60. It's not going to do anything else. The graphics, yes, they're absolutely retrotastic. I mean, look at that. And the controls, yes, like Jordan already hinted at, to get the DualShock 4 to work, I had to go into Steam Big Picture mode, go into the controller configuration, and force enable the emulation thing that Steam does. Basically, it just tells any controller that Steam input is compatible with to just use Steam input regardless of which controller it is. So it'll just emulate like a Steam controller. Speaking of the Steam controller, that one worked out of the box. So 4 chairs.
Well, there you go. Java under Linux still has a ways to go in terms of gaming. Did you have fun with it, Ben, though?
Man,
did you drift Tokyo style?
I kind of like these games for their simplicity. However, to touch on something that you brought up, I mean, yeah, something does look just a little off with the pixely car and the relatively high-res track followed by the pixely sky map in the back. There's nothing anything wrong, but you can make everything hella pixel. Put that CRT effect on there, but the screen becomes nope soup, a nope milkshake with such a quickness. It's like, what the hell? Hard mode indeed, ladies and gentlemen. That's for the game itself, man. This is Cruising USA on a pixel budget, son. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but you have to keep in mind, games during this era, you know, the era that Slipstream's trying to emulate, had one purpose, to eat your quarters. So keep that in mind, because you have dick AI and, unfortunately, hella repetitiveness. That's just the thing. That's reality. Not to say this is unenjoyable. Nay, Slipstream, perfectly fine for a pick-me-up and drift only to get ticked over by a stupid monkey truck at the end of the track, because that happens a lot. What I'm getting at is it's a wee repetitive. And I found myself having to play it like in 10-minute increments, chunks, if you will, because this is the way I had to roll with it. It's not something I can just put an hour straight into. But after getting the drifting locked down, because that's basically the mechanic in the game, I kind of felt like it turned into a shmup on wheels. Again, maybe not necessarily a bad thing, maybe not what I was expecting. It does have a couple of racing modes. That's neat. And the option for local coupe, no online. Kind of sad about that. It's not bad. It's not great. But if you're into retro racing, $9.99, it's kind of a fair price for what it delivers. So, all things considered, I think I'll be able to give it a solid 2 chairs.
Yeah, so the name of this game apparently is ABD, or Always Be Drifting. I can't really comment on the verisimilitude of the driving and the handling, because I don't actually drive, but I'm pretty sure physics don't actually work that way. But I mean, it's a car racing game. The whole spiel that Ben gives at the beginning of any like roguelite or RPG that we review applies to me here. I don't really like the racing games.
False accusations, man. Those are my favorite genre things.
Right. Yeah. Racing games aren't my jam. This one's okay. I spend some time practicing tracks and time trial, and then I can do okay in the campaign mode, which apparently has a story which I'm just gonna go ahead and assume is a love story between a man and his vehicle and a very, very hot exhaust pipe and some third-degree burns. But yeah, I can't. It's fine for what it is, I guess. It's not something that I'd play regularly or at all if I weren't actually reviewing this for the show. So, I mean, I'm gonna give it 1 chair, but don't pay attention to me. I hate racing games. Listen to these 2 yahoos. Thing 1 and Thing 2, they seem to like them.
Yeah, and this is very much Drifter lose the game. It gets a bit infuriating at times when, you know, random traffic vehicles that have this nasty habit of swerving into you or just showing up in the exact lane that you happen to be doing the drift on. That's kind of annoying. Also, no matter how they do it, if an AI car hits you, you're the one that slows down. They hit you from behind, you spin out, and you slow down. You hit them from behind, you slow down. So basically,
there's a lot of from behind here.
Yes. And it's, I get it. You know, back in the day, the CPU cheated a lot, and it would use any and all chances that it would get to dick you over. And clearly, they're going for that old style of game. So I'd say it works, but it's still just as annoying and infuriating in 2019 as it was back in 1992. I did very much enjoy the racing when I wasn't, you know, crashing into traffic. And even the retro graphics feel very much appropriate for this one. It is like Outrun, but for nowadays type of computers. So I enjoyed it. It's not perfect. Screw those traffic cars, clearly. But yeah,
it's the non-traffic cars
chairs.
you have to watch out for. Hey,
the flying cars.
At $9, I wouldn't be against having it. It's not something that I'm going to put a lot of time into because there's not much to it, and that's not knocking the game. The game did what it said on the tin. It's like, yeah, this is like the old games. Yeah, we're going to stick to that. So,
like a racer or whatnot.
Yeah.
Then yeah, like then this is very clearly trying to be a Genesis game, and it, like I would say it accomplishes that for better or for worse.
Oh, yeah.
Keep an eye out for it. I mean, if this is your jam, this will deliver. For me, a little bit more in a racing game, but yeah, I get what they're going for, and I think they nailed it. So
yeah, I would like to see an updated version of Overtop. If you played, you know, a lot of Neo Geo arcade games, you know what that one is. I still want to play that.
Mm.
All right, well there you go. It's a passable 16-bit racer. Make of that what you will. Coming up next, I am the Lizard Queen, and the Sildat will explain why.
And this particular Saturday Night Chunder is over.
Do you feel
if you'd like to know what the hell we were on about, go back and listen to the show again. You know you want to. Oh, yes, you do.
Dude.
But after you do that, make sure to go to LinuxGameCast.com, hit the contact button, and fill out the form. Just make sure you're sending some hate mail over to the LGC Weekly show that the little selection box allows you to choose. And yeah, that's basically how you do it. If you're a game developer and you'd like us to have a look at your game.
Again. Hey, that's one thing you
need
can
to send us 3 keys or a build that we can share amongst all of us. Because if you don't, well, we're just going to make fun of you.
And call us up. We'd love to have you on the show. No, we'll get back to entertainment value. Probably the next 2 weeks until I get readapted to typing on a split keyboard again. Me typing show notes, fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah, I mean that it's the same thing like when you use the Google Voice keyboard, where it's just like, I assume Ben was shouting this at like the Google Home.
It's a delicate mixture of that and like that's close enough, you know.
Yeah.
If I'm just talking to you guys, I'm like, you can decipher that.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
All right.
If you go back into our Hangout chat, there's some wonderful like, what the fuck. Anyways, we got 2. We got the first one this week, from Arcade.
Textiles.
This is Tech Tops. He says, yeah, I saw and commented on the Linus thread. For me, the Switch came full-time after about 4 years as a dual booter. I honestly switched full-time for a number of reasons. Security was one, memory efficiency was another, but mostly control over my system in a way that multiple sclerosis will never offer the end user. Workflow was never an issue, as my work uses Google Docs spreadsheet and pretty much exclusively for internal and external reports. Gaming has gotten to the point where it's near native for a large number of games. Easy, cheat, and other middleware being the last stumbling block doesn't really affect the games I like. Just nice to have the best compatibility. This is in response to that Linus Tech Tips Twitter thread we were talking about last week, where he's like, why do you use Windows? Why is it better than Mac or Linux? So,
yes.
Dude, I mean, I had to quit. That was me watching reality TV, was just reading through that thread, because it just never kept giving.
Yeah, I read through that, and then it really floored me when I realized that Snooki was a Linux user. It made me really reconsider some life choices.
Anyway, it explains your new boat. Coming up next.
Up next, we have the Sildat, and he's talking about Jordan being a Komodo dragon. Howdy, all. Just watched this week's LGC, and I must say I'm surprised that the new Armello DLC introducing new heroes didn't make it in the news this week.
Yeah, what the fuck's
Indeed,
up with that?
one would think that an entire DLC dedicated to introduce venomous, treacherous, sneaky reptilians would have grabbed Jordan's attention. Come on, we all know that this anthropomorphic Komodo dragon of a wizard, Volodar, in that DLC is Jordan's secret fursona. Well, scale sona, but
Fursona. No,
anyway,
he's a scaly furry.
keep on rocking, guys, and have a
curry.
good weekend.
So I just gotta say, are you implying that I'm a Komodo dragon because I don't brush my teeth and my mouth is a toxic mess? So when I bite people, they just die?
No, it's because you bite people's ankles. It's weird. Stop.
It tastes so good, though. I love
every
that
fucking
sweet
time,
ankle
dude.
juice.
Out in public, he nibbles on somebody's ankles, follows them around for like 3 weeks, or to put the restraining order, whichever comes first. And he's like, I don't understand.
I genuinely don't. I genuinely don't. Just give me your ankles.
So, yeah, do you guys still play the Armadillos?
Yeah, we do. I think we talked about it briefly on one of the Thursday streams. It's actually like a paid DLC. It just adds a couple more characters. The next time we play Armello, we might install it. We usually tend to use Armello as like a filler in between like other stuff that we're streaming.
Right on.
So the next time that pops up, we'll give it a whirl. Apparently, it changes the mission structure too, which is interesting. I don't know.
It's an interesting game to watch. I don't mind watching you guys for a little bit and playing that.
Yeah, it's
for me, it's definitely a watch Jordan play it kind of game.
Right, because I know it's not in the game, but I'd be floating around like a fucking ghost after 20 seconds somehow.
This don't starve rule set doesn't make any sense. Ben, we're playing Armello. Shut up!
No! Ladies and gentlemen, on that bombshell, let's cue the music. You can always find this Nightmare Trade pulling off the tracks at 8:30. Hour before that, if you want to hop at our Discord. We do our pre-planning show of nonsense. We just talk about whatever's going on. It's not planned, it's not scripted, but it's all nightmares. It's fantastic. If you want to get in touch with me, I'm at Vinstone on Twitter, and just at Vin on mass.linuxgamecast.com. Say hi, and I'll wave at you.
I'm your favorite cold-blooded lizard boyfriend from Canada. You can follow me on Twitter at The Burning Fool, or on our Mastodon at Frojo at mass.linuxgamecast.com. And maybe I'll bite your ankles. Maybe I won't. You can only know if you join.
I honestly don't know what I'm doing here. But hey,
I don't
if for
either.
some reason you enjoyed my contributions or lack thereof during the show, feel free to follow me at Unaccounted For on Twitter. That's usually the best place to get in touch with me.
Lads, what was learned other than Jordan is in fact a flat moon theorist, but that explains the lizard person. Ankle biting.
Oh, it's the Liz. Oh!
Flat moon theory, baby. All right.
Boop.
Look at all those executive producers.
Oh,
Wait,
we gotta restart that.
rewind it.
Damn it. Ha.
Rewind. Live, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, bitches.
Two real vending machine. Gotta thank all these lovely people who are making this possible. Our executive producers who are giving us boatloads of moolah that we continue to embezzle. We got who do we got? We got Arthur, and we got Mr. Foxdog, Empty, The Atomic Ass, Mike, Barbrampt, Aldius, Hoplo, McGeek, Scoots, and look at our wonderful producers like Jupiter Broadcasting,
producers.
or D Mentor, or Lutris, or
Ramswata,
the Admiral JT, Ertain, Vascop, Ryan, Linux Noob,
the Linux noob,
the other Jordan who's not a lizard queen, Jolly, Pablo, Yabo,
M.
the
Langston,
Targos, Zoe,
Massivoni.
Gonzo
Nibbles.
2000. It's better than Gonzo 1999. There's fewer Y2K bugs.
Yes.
J-Girl, Vertnog, Sorceress, Linux Nuru, Dominic, and look at all the fuckos, people who gave us hardware.
Don't tickle Frank.
I'm gonna tickle him. Frank,
Ticklish.
give up those pits. I'm gonna stick my finger in your pits.
His stop highly ticklish.
Wait a
back
second.
here.
Frank
Danger
doesn't
tickles.
have nerve endings.
Man, that's what he fucking wants you to believe.
That's racist. Wait, wow, Pedro.
Wow.
Just because a
Jordan.
man is a
That's
skeleton
skeletist.
doesn't mean that he doesn't have any nerves.
All right. Here you
Frank is full of nerves.
go. You're full of
I didn't say nerves, I said nerve endings.
They never end. They go on and on and on and on.
I'm almost sorry.
5 dudes.